On this album, a lot of the stuff really just came around, you know, our pattern was about, Phil would start with the drum machine, and always a little bit different, you know, and he'd bang it up, and off we'd go. You know, Tony would play some chords, I'd bash around on the guitar, and Phil would start singing. And this little loop he started with kind of set in the mood for something. Had a guitar riff, I think, and off we go. And then on top of it, the other thing is the lyric it's you know, it's a simple sort of pop song in many ways, but the lyrics got a nice little sort of play on words and invisible touch, I think, actually. It's quite strong, that.
And now it seems I'm falling for her. She seems to have invisible touch.
When we were playing around with it, Mike had that ding 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 ding. It reminded me of the Sheila E. thing, and so I started to sing something which I remembered as being something like this Sheila E. thing, because I liked it. The little idea that you hear and you take it and you think, I would have done this with that idea, you know. And in the lyrics, I still joke about these lyrics to my son when we talk about people that we know, either have had relationships with or, you know, close relatives. People that, like, you know, they have the invisible touch that, I'm not quite sure, but whatever it is they do, you can't get them out of your mind, you know. In the live lyric of the song that I sing is, though she will fuck up your life, you'll love her just the same, you know. It's kind of one of those things, and I actually, I like that lyric, because for me it's kind of, you know, been part of my life, I suppose. She seems to have an invisible touch. She reaches in and grabs right hold of your heart, you know, and tears it out, but you still go back for more, that kind of thing. So I feel quite close to that song.
It certainly took us to a different kind of level, and I always thought at the time, and I remember we were doing this because we did Invisible Touch, the album came out and it was #1 and everything, and then we came about a year later, we did the Wembley Stadium, four nights at Wembley Stadium, and the album went back up, actually at #2 I think again, and it had been in the top 10 I think the whole year. It was just extraordinary really, and you know, I did think when we did those shows at Wembley Stadium, I thought, it will never be bigger than this. This is it. You know, we've had an album that's been #1 everywhere, and you know, we're selling out these shows 4 times and everything. And it was a great feeling. I just thought it was, you know, I'll enjoy it. I think, because I thought it went on last. It lasted longer than I thought it was going to actually.
I think we probably all felt that it was a single, or the you know, the representative, the flagship of the record a bit. But this, it was #1 in America, the first #1 album and single in America. It was a very big record for us.
Tonight, I think is one of our sort of a prime example of that phase of writing where Phil would start with this great little sort of loop thing, you know, on a drum machine with that echo sound on it. So when the song started, before we even played a note, myself or Tony, you've got this atmosphere, like sort of setting the stage, and then Tony play some chords and off we go, I think. And that's a very strong song, I think. And I think Tonight actually is also it's very unique. Nothing else we've done quite like it. There are certain songs you can liken to other songs before, but Tonight, I think is got the sound that's very original.
It's kind of still one of those journey songs. It went through different changes, and you know, it was outside the you know, kind of the format of singles. We were just writing how we felt like at the time, and we weren't trying to have hit singles, we weren't trying to be commercial. I just think that's the way it just happened to have turned out on that record.
Obviously we edited it down as a single, and it was a big hit in the States particularly, and it was a hit in England I think too actually, but it's obviously it's, you know, the extended version has quite a long middle eight. It's more like a traditional Genesis song, goes through lots of changes, and there's this sort of very ethereal kind of middle part, which, you know, is a very nice piece of music actually, but it's obviously didn't make it onto the single. But it's, you know, I guess I can't put my finger on what it is really. I mean, obviously Phil had got him, he'd become established at more as a singles act. That opened a few doors for us in terms of radio, prepared to sort of, you know, listen to it, I suppose. But I think the songs were there anyhow, you know, a song like Invisible Touch or Land of Confusion, they're hit songs, I think, by anybody.
At this time, on this album, I think, yeah, I got very conscious of what was going on, actually, was that the public perception of us was because MTV was in full swing now. We were having hit singles and videos were doing well. I think the profile you get with a hit single was so huge, it dwarfed everything else. So I think people forget there were long songs on this album, like Domino. I mean, I think they There's always this thing about, you know, you're a progressive band with the long songs and then you ended up doing the shorter songs. We didn't really ever stop doing the longer songs. They were just dwarfed, perception-wise, by the power of television, really. And funny enough, when you see us live, that balance is so different. I mean, I think when you see us live, the long songs are probably as big a part of the audience's enjoyment as the short songs. And the balance is very much half and half. So I think in a way, songs like Domino get rather forgotten until we go on stage.
Well, I never did see such a terrible thing as you seen last night on the TV. Maybe if we're lucky, they will show it again. Such a terrible thing to see. Oh.
Well, to me, it is a very important track, Domino. I mean, you know, it's sort of, I suppose, I'm sure they will say it's kind of more me, perhaps, than the others in a way. The lyrics mine, and I was trying to get across sort of a political kind of message, and it's sort of, you know, about how politicians are a bit like what people who write nowadays, I think, in a way, but politicians don't sort of sometimes, I think through what it is they've started off. You know, they do something, and then the fact that all these people are going to be, you know, people's husbands are going to be killed, and all the unexpected consequences that occur when you start something off, you know. And people tend to think very sort of blinkered about a thing. They think we've got to get rid of this guy, got to do that. And of course everything else happens. And that's what the song was all about, really. And it was a nice, big, long song, gave you an opportunity to have a bit of fun, both lyrically and musically. And also it's a very strong, the end section is very strong, the bit, you know, it's got a very strong guitar riff, and it works, it's worked, you know, it's a classic stage song ever since, I think. It's one of the, in a funny way, it's almost, from a stage point of view, it's one of the best songs off the album, just because it gives you more room to breathe. You know, the longer songs tend to work better on stage, I think.
I thought it's time, whatever age I was on, I can't remember, I thought it's time for a protest song. I thought the time was right, after all these years. But done in a fairly subtle way, you know. Actually, I remember, this is the last lyric to be finished, I think. And I was behind schedule and late as usual. I think he'd sung all the other songs, actually, and I hadn't finished it. And we were, you know, Phil works at a great tempo in the studio, which is great. He pushes it along, you know. And I remember I was actually in bed with a horrendous sort of flu thing kind of at home, so I started delirious. And he came round and sort of sat on the bedroom, I think. This I remember it, I'm sure. And I gave him the lyric, thinking, I don't know if it's any good. I was a bit sort of, you know, a fever and a temperature, thinking, I think it's all right, you know what I mean? And then he sang it. I wasn't there at the time, I don't think. He sang the first version of it. And it really kind of worked.
Well, Land of Confusion was a lyric that Mike wrote. Yes, it was a sort of, obviously it's got a much more straightforward political message, I think, really, and being a more instant song and a more of a hit, it's probably had slightly more effect. And it was, the video obviously was great fun to do for that, you know. I mean, it's the best video we ever did, far and away, because we're not in it. It's as simple as that.
Oh, Superman, where are you now? When everything's gone wrong somehow. The men of steel, the men of power, are losing control by the hour.
You know, when we came into this business back in 1969 or something, there was, we did Genesis Revelation. It was, you know, we were with Jonathan King, we were trying to do hit singles, that's what we were trying to do, we just tried to write hits. And no one would do them, and we didn't appear to be that good at doing it. And then I think we were sort of shown the way by groups at the time, like, you know, the King Crimsons and Family and Fairport Convention, of another way of approaching music a little bit. And that's why we went to got into the progressive thing. And we found that we were kind of able to do things in that area that no one else was doing. Whereas in the pop area, we weren't so original. By the time we got to this stage, I think we just felt we'd kind of almost gone as far as we could in certain directions of going into deep progressive music and extended solos and all the rest of it. And, you know, the idea of trying to craft songs a little bit more was quite appealing. So that's what ended up on this album.
Each one of those songs, like Land of Confusion, In Too Deep, Tonight Tonight, Invisible Touch, Throwing It All Away, they were all kind of either top 5, top 10 singles in the States. And I think that was probably the 85, 86 tour as well we did with that. That was the first stadium tour. I mean, that opened up a whole, that was probably our peak in America to some extent.